I know that you're not in the bubble at this point necessarily, but last night I think the two main events for WrestleMania got locked in.
Yeah, and if you're a non-wrestling fan, don't leave. Okay?
Yeah.
This is a very interesting thing that's going on in wrestling right now that you might find it entertaining. We've got The Rock back. So I've been watching the promos. So I know what's going on a little bit.
Okay. So yeah, The Rock is back. For anybody who doesn't have their finger on the pulse of WWE in general, last year they and the UFC combined to a new company called TKO. They merged, and so now The Rock has a seat on the board of directors of TKO, and apparently. Originally, part of him taking that job was he wants to have a match with Roman Reigns, who is his cousin and the top WWE star at this particular moment.
Real quick, do you want a 2-minute timer to explain the Cody Rhodes
Yes.
Bloodline situation? Okay,
So I didn't want that to be part of the 2 minutes because that I think is that's preamble. So I think that's.
Let me know when you're ready
okay.
for the 2 minutes. You can keep going, keep cooking.
So now The Rock has come back, and there's been a lot of talk, like the WrestleMania Andrew and I went to last year. That's right, we went to WrestleMania. There was discussion
both nights. It was
both nights. There was discussion of The Rock being at that WrestleMania because they've sort of been building to this for a few years. Roman Reigns is a dominant champion within WWE. He's been the champion for like almost 3 or 4 years straight, something like that. A long time. They've been building
over almost 1,300 days. He's been the champion.
Yeah, so they want to do this Rock match very clearly. They've been angling to try to do it. So now I believe I will take the timer, and in 2 minutes, I will do my very best to try to break the system down.
God, how far back can you go? Are you going to go back to Stardust?
No, I shan't.
Yeah, so this is why people, because what Dusty's about to explain is probably the most how far back do we go? The most effective WWE storyline.
Yeah, I think we only have to go back to last year's WrestleMania, and then we could fast forward quite a bit.
Well, what I'm saying is the Cody Rhodes versus the Bloodline, or the Bloodline in general, because you can go back to Sami Zayn versus the Bloodline, which was last year, is probably the most effective storytelling that the WWE has done in how long?
In a long, long time. This is a very long story.
Maybe 20 years.
That they've been telling. Yeah, it's reminiscent of, I mean, I don't know how it ends. I don't know if they have the end necessarily planned out, but like the way that they used to book things was like Macho Man Randy Savage wins the title at WrestleMania 4, and they already have the main event of WrestleMania 5, which is Hulk Hogan versus a heel Randy Savage planned. Yeah. And so they just work backwards. And this feels like, for most of it, there's been a few stumbling blocks for some people, but most of it has been a sort of, we're working backwards from an end point that we have to tell this story. And that's made it very effective, as well as, for all the haters in wrestling, Roman Reigns being one of the best performers overall in WWE. I don't think anybody could be as good as he's been for the last 1,300 days. It'd be very tough to find somebody who could do what he's done.
He's really blossomed because people hated him for a long time. Yeah. Then he got leukemia, but that won't be in this story. So are you ready for the 2 minutes?
I'm ready for the 2 minutes.
Ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
So at WrestleMania 39, Cody Rhodes faced Roman Reigns in a match where Cody Rhodes' whole story is he wants to win the WWE title, which is the title that his father, Dusty Rhodes, never won. And at WrestleMania 39, he's a huge babyface. He's just come back from AEW, and they have him win the Royal Rumble. He's ready. He's primed to go. I am sure that he's going to win this match. Last year, he loses in incredible fashion to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. And so now they're like, okay, well, it's definitely going to be The Rock versus Roman Reigns, and then Cody Rhodes can finish his story at a later date. They don't rematch. There is no match between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns from last WrestleMania to now. Cody Rhodes wins the 2024 Royal Rumble. But the whole time they're sort of teasing The Rock in the background. Cody Rhodes comes back after he wins the Royal Rumble. He says he's going to give his spot to The Rock so that The Rock and Roman Reigns can have the biggest match in the history of WrestleMania. The crowd hates this. They immediately turn on The Rock. And Cody Rhodes is trying to give his blessing to The Rock. Cody Rhodes is a massive babyface. The Rock seems to be fighting a sort of general fatigue with him as a entertainment person. You can look at Black Adam, some of his other box offices as reasons why people aren't super into The Rock right now. So they flip it on a dime, which is not great, but they turn The Rock to a member of the Bloodline. Now The Rock has joined up with Roman Reigns because the crowd hates him, and he's like, well, if you hate me, I'm going to be with Roman Reigns, and we're going to kick the shit out of Cody Rhodes, the guy that you think should be the babyface, but I should be the babyface. I'm The Rock, goddammit. And he slapped Cody Rhodes at a press conference, and he says Cody Rhodes backstabbed him, and they've been building this thing, but there's some internal pressure within the Bloodline also. So that leads us to last night.
That's pretty good.
I think that's not too bad,
good.
right?
That's pretty good. Yeah. So the one of the things that everybody like, the reason that it was like assumed that The Rock would be the one to come back is The Rock is Samoan, and so is Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, big Samoan guy. The Rock, big Samoan guy. And in wrestling, every Samoan are cousins. They're all cousins.
Yes,
they aren't real cousins.
Yeah, The Rock and Roman Reigns are not actual cousins.
Yeah, some of them are, like, in terms of, like, Rikishi is related to a bunch of these people, like, all this stuff. But
there are two
Samoans,
families, two different Samoan families that all have wrestlers in them, but they aren't all related to each other. But they are all related to each other through the idea of they're all watching each other's back. They all call each other cousin. It's a whole thing. And
that's why they're referring to this as the Bloodline. And Roman Reigns has been billing himself as what he calls the head of the table, the tribal chief of the Bloodline. And he's been the tribal chief. The tribal chief thing's been a while, like a couple years now,
since he turned heel. Yeah. So the whole time he's been champion, and part of the tribal chief character is this idea that Roman Reigns is the most bankable box office star in WWE. And so if Roman Reigns is on top, everybody eats because Roman Reigns is on top. So they should all be thankful for Roman Reigns. And the idea that they would want someone else to be champion, or the idea that someone else could even be champion, is like insulting Roman Reigns.
Yeah, it's offensive to him.
And so his whole thing is, you acknowledge me. He's not upset at you, but you have to acknowledge his greatness. And that's a great heel tactic to have. And the idea that, like, well, doesn't your, I think in one of the promos to one of the baby faces that he had faced, he's like, what about your daughter's braces? What about the school she goes to? What about the car you drive? All of that shit is because I'm the champion and I'm driving the business. So, like, it's insulting to me that you think you could do a better job than me at doing this.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But wrestling's getting really meta nowadays because the you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Everybody knows it's fake. So a lot of the storylines are still, a lot of them are still about, like, I'd like to kick your ass and stuff. But there's a lot of, like, I deserve to be at the top because I sell the most T-shirts. There's a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
So
which I don't always love, but I like in this particular instance.
I agree.
It's still all about money and prestige and being the best and being the champion. So
yeah.
So last night, on Monday, Cody Rhodes had challenged The Rock. He wants to face The Rock one-on-one. And so last night was the chance for The Rock to answer that particular challenge. And he's like, of course everyone wants to go one-on-one with The Rock. I'm the goddamn Rock. But
well, I love how the promo started. He goes out. Well, first of all, Roman goes out and says, acknowledge me. They kind of boo. He says, I'm going to try this one more time. Acknowledge me. They boo. He tries it one more time. Acknowledge me. They boo. And he's like, okay, I've gotten my appearance fee. I was contracted to be here one time, and I'm going to leave. And he starts to leave. And Paul Heyman, who's his manager, who's like basically Peter Pettigrew from the Harry Potter series, if you're familiar. Paul Heyman, strategically holding the microphone up so people will hear him say this.
Yeah.
Go, we can't leave. he's gonna come out. He's about to come out right now.
Yeah.
And then he says, kind of corny, but it's almost like tongue in cheek. He's like, when we ladies and gentlemen, right after this commercial break, the people's champion, the greatest champion in the history of the WWE. Oh, he didn't say that because he would be disparaging Roman. He said the great one, the greatest, the biggest. What did he say? The greatest movie star in history is going to come out, because they're really pumping the Hollywood shit. The Rock's music. Well, he says it will be coming up right after this commercial break, and then they come back to the Rock's music. The Rock comes out, and he's like, he talks about Glendale and Phoenix, Arizona having the highest usage of meth and cocaine in the country. Yeah. And he's like, finally, you. What did he say? Desert crackheads or something like? It's something better than that.
Crackhead Karens and something else. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember. But he said, you guys are in the presence of greatness. Finally, you have something good to inject into your veins. Finally, The Rock has come back to Arizona, and is good. It was good. And then so he starts talking about how. Like responding to Cody, and what does he say, Dusty?
Well, he tells Cody, of course, you want to face The Rock, but The Rock doesn't want to face you. Everybody wants to face The Rock. He's the Hollywood People's Champion, you know?
Yeah.
So he suggests there are 2 nights of WrestleMania now. And the first night main event.
We went to both nights last year.
We went to both nights. Those were 2 nights where we were both there.
It was super cool.
Pretty great.
We saw Cody lose to Roman, and then 100,000 people got super quiet. It was weird.
Yeah. So I think that this year's WrestleMania obviously got messed up. Ancillary character CM Punk was injured in the Royal Rumble, so his match, which probably would have been on night 1, had to be canceled. So they have 2 champions, which is stupid. But Seth Rollins now doesn't have a match for night 1. So he has been with Cody, telling him, like, the bloodline doesn't fight fair. You're going to need backup. I know that you need backup. I used to be in a group with Roman Reigns. I'll watch your back. So Cody and Rollins have sort of formed like an uneasy alliance. And The Rock says, why not on night?
The Rock
says, why not
know your role?
Why not on night 1 we do Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins versus The Rock and Roman Reigns, which is a match that has been sort of previewed or like guessed that that's what they're going to do as a tag match.
Yeah, I heard a lot of rumblings about that.
Since they're not doing Roman versus Rock straight up, because they want to save that match now that people were hesitant to want to be a part to have it. So, but I thought, like, that's cool, but it's sort of lame. There are no stakes necessarily involved. So I like what they did last night, which was The Rock suggesting if Roman and The Rock win, then the match is Bloodline rules, which means anything goes. But if Cody and Seth Rollins win, then the next night Cody faces Roman 1-on-1, no interference allowed. And I like those stakes because it sort of puts the match ending in question, which is what you always want. And it gives more gas to what I assume the eventual story of Roman, or that The Rock is going to turn on Roman Reigns, or the Bloodline is going to turn on Roman and screw him out of the title. Because I truly believe that Cody Rhodes has to win the title this year. It would be crazy if he did.
Yeah, they're not. I don't think they're going to change the match and then make him lose. But it's got to be either. So I have two ideas here. Either the Bloodline, as soon as he said either the Bloodline rules thing, my first thought was, okay, the Bloodline wins the tag match for sure. Cody has to face up against impossible odds with all of the Bloodline there, and then The Rock turns on Roman, and Cody ends up winning. But the more I think about that, like, if The Rock's going to turn on Roman, then why would he help Roman win the night before? Maybe just so he could be there to make sure that Cody won. So maybe The Rock turns on Roman night 1, and then night 2, Cody beats him straight up. But what I genuinely think what's going to happen is some sort of fuckery happens night 1. Seth Rollins gets pinned, most likely, or either Seth Rollins gets pinned or they cheat and Cody gets pinned, and then they get to the next night and it's Cody's up against these impossible odds and he's getting cheated on and all this stuff's happening, and then The Rock interferes and saves Cody, and Cody wins the title.
Yeah, I think the thing is, night 1, you don't want to beat Roman. You don't want anybody pinning Roman because that will minimize the actual victory, right? But you also don't want anybody beating The Rock because you want to probably save the 2 matches you have, which are Cody versus The Rock and Roman versus The Rock at some point.
And you also want to make sure The Rock's at night 2.
Yeah, and you want the odds stacked against Cody. So yeah. I think that you can beat Cody night 1 as long as he's winning on the second night.
Well, you can beat him, but you can't beat. I don't think you can beat him clean. I don't. But they're not going to. That's not how the Bloodline wins. Yeah, but
it's because you can either do that or you can have Rollins. Because if Rollins gets pinned, then that's fine, and then you have a story. If Cody wins, he can be like, "Hey, I had to win in spite of the fact that you lost. Whenever you said that you were going to help me, Or Seth just walks out on him." That could, and then he gets screwed in night 1. All of those are great as long as in night 2 he wins, because the Bloodline rules no DQ seems like it favors Roman Reigns, but in fact, if you're doing the turn with The Rock or the Bloodline or whatever, then that's an easy way to have the best way to do it in my mind is to have The Rock stop the Bloodline from interfering.
Exactly. And then you can't have any of them cheat for Cody.
Right. And then Cody wins because Roman Reigns doesn't have any of his help. And maybe Roman is shocked, and then that gives the heel something to come back with, where it's, you didn't beat me straight up because I was distracted because my family turned on me. Whatever the case may be. The thing that I like about it is that it gives them a lot of different ways to go that all seem logical, but put the outcome in doubt, which is what you want in pro wrestling, because that's what MMA and boxing and real sports have, which is the outcome is in doubt, regardless.
I think that's why a year later, well, almost a year now, but next month, a year later, I can see why they did what they did at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
It made this bigger. It made people care about this more. People care this time more than they cared last time, and people cared a lot last time. And also, every once in a while, as a wrestling organization, you have to do something that shocks everybody, that doesn't give the crowd what they want. Because if they just assume they're going to get what they want every time, then it takes it away. It takes away from it. So, them doing that last year, everybody has a little bit of PTSD and is like, they might fucking just beat him again. And then Roman is just the champ again for a year. Because last year, when the Roman lost, we were all going, he's got to lose next month, right? Why wouldn't they do it at WrestleMania?
Right. I think there are times where the predictability is good. Sometimes you definitely want Stone Cold Steve Austin to beat The Rock at WrestleMania.
Oh yeah.
Right? That's a foregone conclusion, and you want to see that. And you want the build up to be satisfying, but in the end you're like, Stone Cold's got to win this match. But there's also something to be said for, I don't know who's going to win this thing. I really hope my guy wins it, but maybe my guy doesn't win it. Who knows? And so both of those work depending on the time and depending on the crowd and depending on where everybody is. I didn't think that last year they could get Cody Rhodes as hot again as he was last year. I thought last year is where you strike the iron because it's as hot as you can possibly get him.
Yeah.
And I was incorrect. He's as over, if not more, has more sympathy going in to this year's WrestleMania, even though they kind of fumbled a little bit of the beginning part. He looked kind of silly whenever he gave the match to The Rock, and then was like, "No, never mind, I want the match back." But
Yeah.
people didn't care about that because they wanted him to have the match. So I think he's as hot, if not even a little bit hotter than he was last year. So I think at a certain point you do have to give the people what they want, or the people are going to turn on it, and then you're not going to get what you want. You're going to get what Andrew calls classic flaccidity.
Yeah,
Boner
you don't want flaccidity, because I don't know if they can keep Cody hot for 3 years, but or 2 years, I guess, 2.5. But in terms of chasing the title, like once he becomes champion, I think there's some fun things you can do. It's going to be interesting, but yeah, I'm gonna watch WrestleMania this year. I'm gonna be excited. I'm gonna be intrigued as to what they're doing. This is the best work that they've done in a long time. The best thing about AEW is that they made WWE work harder. I think like they
Yeah.
the storylines in WWE in the last, especially that one at the top, has been, and it's a credit to Roman Reigns, but it's been incredible. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. That was Wrestling Corner, brief Wrestling Corner.